Greetings, opera lovers. Live from Bloomfield, Connecticut, it's Rona. Yesterday, I went to the Saturday matinee at the Met and saw Carmen. Believe it or not, it's the first time I've seen Carmen live. I've seen it many times, streaming live. Someone gave me a fantastic DVD with Jonas Kaufmann and Antonacci as Carmen. And I have to say that, just in passing, that's one of my favorite versions, although I can't help but mention Grace Bumbry on YouTube. So there are many great Carmens to see, and I went to see a Carmen. What did I think? Well, usually I don't like to do these little reviews if I don't have enough good things to say. I don't have a lot of good things to say, but I have some things that I think are worthwhile saying. So I'm never mean. But here goes. So usually I always tell you I go for the singing, and that's kind of true. But I knew I wasn't going to be hearing the best of anybody with the cast that was presented. So I was very interested in this production, which I've actually seen live streamed and many times on YouTube for little sections that I love to show my granddaughter because she loves to dance with the flamenco music. So what did I think of this production now that I was in the theater? Well, I really enjoyed the sets, and I enjoyed the two dancers that came out in the beginning and as they opened the second part of the opera, which was, I guess, Act 3. I enjoyed that very much. I even liked how the curtain had the red line in the middle, although I don't know what it really stood for. The woman in front of me thought it was the Amazon River. Okay. I thought it might have just been a line. What do I know? So the sets were so beautiful. I loved the way they turned around on the stage and how it was so integrated. But then came the placement of especially the chorus and the singers. The chorus did not have enough room to move around effectively, especially in the last act. In the last act, as the scenery was right up to the apron, they had like this much space to move around in. And the music is so forward pushing, they had nowhere to go. I thought that was really weak. And then there were two other aspects of the production that I just did not like. One was the choreography of the singers as they interact with each other. I thought the worst was just what they gave Carmen to do in the last act. I mean, the last act should really bubble with fear and excitement. Speaking of fear and excitement, if any of you have heard or seen the La Scala version starring Anita Rakshvelashvili and Jonas Kaufmann, now there is staging. Okay, Met, not a good job. It happens. But that shouldn't really spoil your overall enjoyment of an opera. I've seen plenty of operas where I didn't really think the staging was as good as it could have been. Many times I enjoy the scenery and not the staging, and vice versa. So when I went to see Eugene Onegin, when it had the Carson production, I know, kill me now, I didn't care for the production. I do now. But I didn't care for it at the time, but I loved the staging. And the reason I didn't care for it at the time is because I hadn't been to the Met in a very long time. And as you may remember, this was a minimalist set. And I wanted to see chandeliers and beautiful furniture. None of that. Okay, but getting back to Carmen. So, production, it's from 2009, and you know what? It looks kind of like everybody's tired with it. But actually, the worst part of the production was the opening of Act 2, where you get the flamenco dancers. That's all over YouTube. It's very exciting on YouTube. They changed a little bit of the choreography, not for the better. And this is what I can say about that. It's practically my favorite part of the opera because just the music is so great. She has that fabulous aria to sing. It's just tremendous. And you know what it was on Saturday? a 0. There was no pulling in for the audience. Now I have to speak about the conductor. So I know the name of Louis Langree. He's a very well-renowned conductor, very highly respected. And when the curtain, well, not when the curtain rose, but when we were all in our seats and the theater was dark and he raised his arms and we start that fabulous overture to Carmen. Oh, this is great. This is going to be a good afternoon. I was hyped. That was the end of that. Because after the overture, I felt it was pedestrian at best. All right, now we're going to get to the singers. So I am neither a fan nor a disliker of Roberto Alagna, who I feel I must mention first, because he's the star. He acted the star. He dominated the opera. It should have been called Don José, as far as I was concerned. I thought he sang really, really well. I know people who were listening to the live stream commented on a place that I go to, Parterre, about a big crack he had. You know what? In the theater, I didn't hear it, and I'm not deaf. So in the theater, while a singer can have some kind of glitch or something happen, sometimes with the orchestra playing so loud and the way it travels back to you, it's not noticeable. So I didn't notice that big crack. I will say this, he was in great vocal form. You know, there are a lot of high notes for the tenor in this role. And he muscled them up very, very well. And of course, his French is so beautiful because he speaks French natively. Of course, he speaks different French than anybody else singing in the opera because he uses the back of the throat's R's and everybody else had the forward. Bothered me a little bit, but not too much because I wasn't invested in this performance anyway. I didn't care. But then came the other people who were singing in French, and I have to mention that the baritone who sang Escamillo, Vinogradov, I could not tell what language he was singing in. It sounded sort of Slavic with a French accent. But getting back to Alagna, I thought he was overall the most correct and professional on the stage. And now, of course, we have to get to Carmen because the opera is called Carmen. And that's why we go to see it, because it's Carmen. So this Clementine Margaine, beautiful voice, very well produced, a lovely technique, smooth from top to bottom, excellent negotiations into all the passagios, up and down. She's got the role in her voice, but she doesn't have any fire to bring to Carmen. Also, in the Act 2 great scene, when she got up to sing her tra-la-la-las, they were almost inaudible. What's that? I thought maybe she's saving herself for the last act, but Carmen doesn't have to save herself. It's not that kind of opera. So very disappointed. Also, just throughout the opera, I never felt that she was Carmen. I mean, it's like she stepped in from another opera, like a sleepy dopey, maybe Sonnambula or something. I don't know. So that was really disappointing. But not bad singing, and not bad singing from Alagna, our two principals. And not bad singing from the baritone, who gets the third billing, usually, or maybe it's Michaela. So Michaela, as we all know, Alexander Korczak, is Mr. Alagna's wife. She did what I would call a very popular version of Michaela because she got the most amount of applause and the audience loved her the best. My seatmates sitting to my right, people I didn't know, I heard them whispering how beautiful she did, how wonderful she was. So my opinion is it's not a role for her. But as Roberto Alagna said in one of his interviews that I heard this week on Sirius, if he listened to everybody, nothing was a role for him. But I think there are plenty of roles for her. I also heard with some alarm that she's going to be doing Madama Butterfly. I can't even imagine it. Okay, it's a free world. Everybody gets to do what they want to do. But now for the good news. The good news is that I thought Frasquita and Mercedes were the best. And they're young singers. So I want to talk about them. So Frasquita was Sydney Mancasola. Not a name I know, but now I've seen she's already sung at the Met. That is a wonderful, beautiful voice. Shoot right over the orchestra, can be heard everywhere. Excellent presentation. Fantastic. Frasquita, well, I'm sorry, that's Frasquita. Mercedes was Samantha Hankey. I've heard her before in live stream from the competitions. Every competition I hear her in, I think she's going to win, and she usually does. I think she's now through with competitions and now ready to start her career. Well, I'd look forward to hearing her sing Carmen. Okay, so it was a disappointing afternoon, especially considering what you pay for those tickets. Now, had I been in Pittsburgh, where I used to live, and would see lots of excellent singers, excellent operas, I would not have complained. I would not have given this review. But this is the Met. This is our standard bearer for the United States, our excellence in opera. And just in passing, I have to say, the orchestra didn't sound bad, but it wasn't one of their outstanding performances. I guess you can't do your best all the time. You can only do it maybe 90% of the time. And so this was not one of them. The chorus was totally adequate and what you would expect from the Met. But again, they didn't shine. The children's chorus did very, very well, as they always do. I last heard them in Mephistopheles. They're fantastic. And they acted with passion, unlike our Carmen and Don Jose, who sort of, I hate to say it, phoned it in. Okay, I'm done with my Met operas this year, but I see lots of things live streamed, and because I get notes and all sorts of things from people. They love to hear my reviews. Maybe I'll do another one this year. I don't know. But in any event, if I don't see any of you again until the opening of the Met season next year, I hope you all survive this winter, where we've had a winter vortex, and have a great summer. So I send you all my best and see you again soon. Bye-bye.